breaking news from KXAN News.
That breaking news we're following this afternoon, the Texas Supreme Court ruled House lawmakers did not have the authority to delay the execution of Robert Robertson.
He's on death row for the murder of his 2-year-old daughter, but his lawyers maintain that conviction was based on discredited science. Robertson was set for execution on October 17th. Joining us now to talk more about this case is KXAN's Capitol correspondent Ryan Chandler. Ryan, thank you for being here. But first off, what does this mean for Robertson? Do you feel that his execution will move forward now?
Well, he is still set to be executed. Nothing changes there. The core question here was whether the legislature had the right to delay effectively his execution by calling him to testify at the Capitol. It's something that we've never seen before in Texas history, and it really ignited almost a constitutional crisis because the executive branch and the legislature were arguing about who has the right to do that. Ultimately, we know what the Supreme Court said today. This doesn't change Robert's fate, though. Ultimately, he is still set to be executed. What the legislature did just delayed that significantly.
Ryan, I know this is a story you've been following for months, and you've been talking to several of the key players in this. What's been the reaction to the update today?
How you react to this ruling kind of depends on how you felt about this case beforehand. Those who were in favor of Robertson getting executed pointed to this and said, see, the legislature, you were wrong to do this. You never had the right to issue that subpoena. But it goes deeper than that because the legislature is actually very fond of this decision because the Supreme Court upheld their right to issue subpoenas, to call for testimony. The Supreme Court never calls that into question. Even Robertson's legal team just gave me a statement praising this decision, saying thank you to the court for upholding the validity of the committee's right to obtain Robertson's testimony. His daughter Nikki's death was a tragedy, not a crime. Robert is innocent, and now they're calling for the state to not set a new execution date and to get a new trial for him.
So normally, Ryan, the Court of Criminal Appeals would handle any kind of appeal from a death penalty case, but how did the case end up before the Texas Supreme Court?
It's a great question because we're thinking this is a criminal case at the heart of this story, so typically it would go to the highest criminal court, the CCA. But without getting too much government 101, the question at the core of this case in front of the Supreme Court was a civil one. It has nothing to do with Robertson's criminal case or whether he should be executed, but whether the legislature had the right to delay it. That's why it went to the Supreme Court.
Okay, you touched on the impacts of this today a little bit, but talk to us about, we know lawmakers on the committee maintain that Robertson deserves a new trial. Right. So what impact does today's opinion actually have on that?
Whether he will get a new trial will be decided by different courts. That still remains to be seen. The real impact of this decision is that it allows the legislature to call him to testify at a later date. I talked to the chairman of that committee's office this morning. They say they do intend to call him back to the Capitol for an unprecedented hearing with him in person, ideally before the legislative session begins on the 14th of January. But whether Robertson actually sees a material change in his case will either depend on a new trial or the governor's office issuing a 30-day stay or clemency.
Much more to track there, and of course I know you'll be following along with it, but Ryan, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks.
All right. More breaking news that we're following this afternoon. An Austin real estate investor is in jail. Nate Paul turned himself in last night to begin a 10-day jail sentence for criminal contempt of court.
He's made headlines in recent years for a series of bankruptcies and lawsuits, most notably for his role in Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's impeachment trial.
Paxton was accused and later acquitted by the Texas Senate of wrongfully using his office to help Paul in cases including an ongoing lawsuit against a charitable nonprofit called the Mitty Foundation. That's the case that KXAN's Dylan McKim is focused on today. And Dylan, give us an update about what led to Paul's jail sentence for this.
Yeah, a lot of background to this. We got to back up nearly a decade for some context because the Mitty Foundation, it used some of its endowment funds to invest in some of Paul's companies. Now, it sued Paul after it claimed he refused to share that financial information on their investment. That eventually went to arbitration, where an arbitrator awarded the charity almost $2 million. And a district court judge ordered Paul to pay that amount and required him to report any asset transfers that he or his companies made that were over $25,000. Now, the judge said he failed to report those transfers, and when he was asked about it in court, he lied under oath. Now, in total, the judge issued 6 counts of criminal contempt in this case. Paul appealed the sentence for months to no success. And separate from his 10-day sentence, Paul also faces a dozen counts of bank and wire fraud. The bank fraud counts carry sentences up to 30 years each. That's according to the U.S. Department of Justice. That trial begins in February. Dylan McKim, KXAN News.
First warning weather.
Oh, hey, what's up? All right, they were going to say we're talking about the Friday chilly air, and it is just a gorgeous day. Look outside right now. Here's our Allen Medical Emergency Room camera. Do you see a single cloud? Because I don't. Lunchtime plans, you're driving around, upper 60s, low 70s. It does not get better than this in Central Texas standards. 71 Camp Mabry in Austin, winds out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour today. We'll be staying on the cooler side compared to where we were just a few days ago, but still upper 70s nonetheless. Llano County 73, Burnett 69, Marble Falls 72. How about the metro area? Pflugerville 70, at the airport 71 degrees, and east of I-35, pretty much the same idea. A few 70s sprinkled in with some upper 60s from time to time around the area. All right, big picture is we are dealing with nothing but dry weather, a few clouds over the Gulf and down toward the valley and up toward the Four Corners. But besides that, I mean, no rain at all in the southern plains for at least the next 48 hours. Here's how it looks today. High temperatures, find your city, 75 in Georgetown, 77 Austin, 78 Bastrop, Latonia, 78, 75 in Burnett. You get the idea. We'll be dealing with temperatures continuing to stay in the mid to upper 70s. Out the door tomorrow morning, 53 in Austin, 50 Georgetown, 48 Cameron. Much warmer than where we were this morning. So the big question is when will it rain? I'll have answers and details on some severe weather that's coming our way and maybe a widespread freeze for the hill country. We'll talk about that in just a bit.
Tommy, thank you. Austin police are investigating a homicide this morning.
And it's the 3rd homicide this week and the city's 61st of the year. Police responded to calls at a North Austin apartment complex on Goldfinch Court at about 12:45 this morning. That's up near 183 in Lamar. When police got there, they say they found a body. At this time, the identity of that victim is unknown. A person of interest has now been detained, though, police say, and officers also added that they have multiple witnesses in for questioning. This is Austin's 61st homicide of the year, as we mentioned. This time last year, we were also at that same number. 73 total, though, for the entire year.
Something else we're following today. This morning, it appeared the race for Austin's mayor is over.
Incumbent Mayor Kirk Watson is the apparent winner. According to the unofficial returns, Watson will avoid a runoff by a margin of just 14 votes. While the numbers are enough to project the race, we are waiting on Travis and Williamson counties to canvass the returns. That is where they make sure all of these votes are correct. After the canvass is complete, they will post official results. That will happen by no later than Tuesday.
Last night, Mayor Watson issued a statement saying, "I want to thank voters for their confidence in me and for electing me to serve as Austin mayor for a 4th time. We knew that winning outright with no runoff against 4 opponents in a presidential year would be extraordinary." Second place finisher Carmen Yanez Pulido told KXAN she's waiting for that official tally to declare a position, saying, quote, "We owe it to Austinites to ensure that every single vote is accurately counted." Days. That's how long landowners have to figure out what to do next when the 10th fastest growing county in the nation comes for their property.
In our last hour, Mercedes Hernandez introduced us to one woman in Williamson County who was preparing for a potential eminent domain fight. Now she takes a look at how state lawmakers in charge of regulating this complicated process are adjusting.
The chair calls House Bill 2730 by Desotel.
House Bill 2730 went into effect in 2022 and laid out some new protections for landowners when it comes to eminent domain. Entities that seek private land for public use must now provide owners with things like the Texas Landowners Bill of Rights and a written appraisal of their land. 30 days later, they'll send their final offer. Once that final offer is made, property owners have just 14 days to respond.
That's what we arrived at the time.
We traveled hours away to Cleburne, State Representative Dwayne Burns' district. He co-authored the bill and now chairs the House Land and Resource Committee. He says there have been similar reforms proposed over the years, but HB 2730 is one of the latest to become law. He says it took 3 legislative sessions to come out with terms that appeased oil and gas companies, local governments, and landowner groups, including that 14-day time frame.
Is 14 days enough time to respond to something like that?
I would love to see more time, frankly. But given the whole parameter of everything, once they've been initially contacted, they've received the landowner's Bill of Rights, they know about the project, they know what's coming, they've had time to prepare for that. If there are folks that have legitimate concerns with parts of that bill and not working for them, then they need to let us know.
Eminent domain attorney Dan Gaddis practices in Williamson County and served in the Texas legislature for 8 years. He says laws could do more to protect landowners, and public entities should be more open about their plans.
When you're talking about roadways and those types of things, and even in pipelines and power lines, we could be more transparent about that process. Transparency in the design process and where these routes are going to go.
Gaddis and Williamson County say it's rare that an eminent domain case reaches a courtroom, but that number is growing. There were 2,600 eminent domain cases on the county's docket in 2023. That's now almost 2,900 in 2024. He says it's the dollar amount an entity offers an owner that most often brings these cases to court.
Prices are not what they were 50 years ago. They're not what they were 6 months ago. We need to be allowed to put in more evidence of what real values are.
In 2019, the Wachowskis' land was worth $1.6 million. Today, it's closer to $3.2 million. Wachowski says if she does eventually decide to sell, her options are limited because her land is marked by Arterial K.
I don't see any way that you could sell without, you have to disclose it, and then that changes your buyer completely.
Take out informed and put told.
Yes.
In the months since first hearing about Arterial K, Wachowski and several others formed the group Preserve Wilco Now.
We held a town hall meeting in April and had over 150, almost 170 probably, people show up.
Sending their own letters out about the project, encouraging people to speak out against it and keep a close eye on their property values.
I had and have dreams for this place.
Because plans for Arterial K aren't final, Wachowski says she's still weighing her options. But it's not knowing when the project would happen that's weighing heaviest.
If it's 10 or 15 years away and we could still do something with that, I would make an effort to just pretend like it's not coming.
Just a portion of that incredible investigation from our Mercedes Hernandez there. Now, something laid out in HB 2730 is property owners can file a complaint with the Texas Real Estate Commission if they feel they're being treated unfairly in an eminent domain case. KXAN reached out to that group, and it says it doesn't have a record of or track complaints made specifically about eminent domain.
Like Representative Burns said, if there are issues or updates needed to that law, his office and committee need to hear about it. We listed those contacts in this web story in the investigative section of KXAN.com. That's where you can also watch the full investigation if you missed part 1.
First warning weather with meteorologist Tommy House.
Our KXAN weather camera showing a beautiful shot of the skyline of Austin. We have clear skies and temperatures in the low 70s. It doesn't get much better than that. Lone Star State temp check, 80s down toward the valley, low 60s up toward the Panhandle. It's 60 in Amarillo, 69 in Waco, 71 in Austin, 73 in Houston. Across the country, it's a pretty quiet day in the weather world. A few low pressure systems, but no severe weather, and overall, it's going to be a great weekend for us here in the Austin area. Next 24 hours, temperatures cooling down tonight to the low 50s. Out the door for your Saturday, about 10 degrees warmer than where we were this morning, and warming back up to the low 80s by the afternoon hours. Today, 77 degrees, sunny and dry, with a pleasant afternoon. Winds out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, 53, clear and overall seasonable. Our winds will be calm tomorrow east of I-35. That's your best chance for getting back up into the low 80s. We'll stay in the upper 70s toward the hill country, places like Llano, Mason, and San Saba. Your winery forecast heading out to the vineyard this weekend. Saturday looks great and dry, but Sunday, especially during the afternoon and evening hours. I'm timing some showers and storms, and even into early Monday, a chance for some severe weather. Level 2 out of 5 for parts of Gillespie County, Llano up toward San Saba, all of Mason County, and then you'll see that severe risk drop off to a level 1 out of 5 for the Austin area, portions of Travis County, and then general thunderstorms east of that. Here's what's going to happen on Saturday. You'll see a few light showers out and about, and overnight into your early Monday morning, that's the line of severe weather. Notice the timing for this is out the door early on your Monday. Big picture behind that, cold air fills back in. So we're going to be talking about temperatures cooling on down. Rainfall when it's all said and done, 1/4 inch to 1 inch in Austin, up toward Waco, 1 to 2 inches. San Antonio, 1/4 inch, maybe less. Texas is away this weekend, but there is the outlook here for the next 7 days. 50% chance of showers on Sunday, Monday 70%, and we'll get back down to the 60s. 66 on Wednesday. Out the door early Thursday, 43. A freeze is possible for the Hill Country.
Earlier this week, the world-famous Michelin Guide made some big announcements right here in the Lone Star State, awarding several local spots a coveted star and other designations. For many in the culinary world, gaining a star can be a huge honor, but we know it's also a lot of work.
Oh yes, here to talk more about what this will mean for these Austin restaurants is Emily Williams-Knight, the president and CEO of the Texas Restaurant Association. Emily, thanks for joining us, and what a big week it was.
It was incredible, and I was honored to actually be there on Monday night in Houston. And I can tell you, leading the restaurant industry in Texas, it probably was one of my favorite moments of my career here.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. And forgive me if my stomach starts growling, because anytime we talk about food in this hour, it just automatically kicks in. But what are some of the most immediate impacts these restaurants will feel now that they have this honor?
Yeah, I guess most importantly, right, is the recognition is global. And we know that travelers, about 2/3 will choose a Michelin destination over a comparable destination due to that star rating. So having 7 restaurants in Austin receive that designation of a 1 star right out the bat, they are going to see additional traffic, additional visitors. And they went from being an Austin-based restaurant to being a global restaurant just by hearing their name called on stage.
So special to hear. Just, I think I have chills trying to put myself in their shoes and imagine what that moment was like. But we know there was a long road that led up to that moment. So talk about some of the benchmarks that the Michelin Guide is looking for. What are some of the things these restaurants had to accomplish in order to even get to that stage?
Yes, I think what makes Michelin so unique and so powerful, it really is the gold standard, and it's completely independent. And so from, I guess, the start of the 20th century, the first guide came out in France. And from that, it has evolved really globally, and of course came to the Lone Star State in 5 cities. In order to get that recognition, whether it be a Bib Gourmand or that 1 star that we saw happen in Austin, you really have about 5 criteria that have remained consistent from the first publication of the guide. And it's everything from consistency in the experience, the flavors, how the chef's personality comes out in the meal, where the ingredients are sourced from, and then really what cooking techniques. And so those 5 criteria have been consistent throughout time. And these inspectors, you don't know if they're coming into your restaurant. They may come multiple times, and you are serving that great meal every time. And then you literally get your name announced on stage and are awarded in some cases for decades of tireless work in the space. And I think that's why it is such a sought after recognition, and it means so much, and the emotions were so high at the awards dinner.
Of course, celebrations are just underway, but other than recognizing some of the best food in our area, why is it significant that this recognition is coming for restaurants, not just in Austin, but across Texas?
Yeah, you know, if you look at the Texas restaurant industry, we have about 57,000 restaurants. And so to have the number that we have that were recognized, I think is a testament to 2 things. One, it has shown the world that Texas has incredible barbecue and tacos, but we also have even more. And so what we've done is really taken the lid off of the secret, which we've all known, which is the diversity of our culture, the diversity of our state and our population comes through our food. And so having an international agency come to a state like Texas and say, hey, world, there's some really special things happening. I think it's going to drive more visitors, but I also think it's going to drive more chefs to want to come to Texas to open those great restaurants. Maybe not go to LA, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, right? Why not come to one of our big cities here in Texas or beyond? That's the real win for the entire state.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked a lot about the impact to your members and to the winners, but talk to us about what will people see, diners and our viewers, what can they expect if they're trying to get into one of these newly recognized restaurants?
Yeah, I would say book early, right? I mean, as the guide was just published, and we know people actually will set a map across Texas now and go from one city to the next, hitting these Michelin starred or Michelin Bib Gourmand recommended restaurants. And so we say one is book early, but two, when Michelin told us they were coming and partnered with, our different tourism agencies and Texas Travel, I think what was most important is that all boats are going to rise in a high tide. So if you're coming to Austin for, say, to eat at Emmer and Rye, you're still going to have 2 other meals and snacks to eat out. And I think that's where Austin in particular is going to shine, because we have so many local independents, just under 6,000 restaurants in Texas, with more than half are independent restaurants. And so I think it's going to give people a chance to come taste a Michelin restaurant, have that recognition and experience that you desire, but make sure you're stopping in at our local, cultural, just incredible eateries across the city. That's where so much of the magic is. So I think you're going to see that the star restaurants will benefit, the recommended, but also everyone else in the restaurant space will benefit from this recognition of Austin.
Well, as they say, the stars at night are big and bright. Emily, thank you again for joining us, and good luck getting a reservation at one of those places coming up.
Even I'll have a hard time. Thanks so much.
We appreciate it as always.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Has been made in a deadly shooting from last week in East Austin.
One person was killed in that shooting. It happened on November 7th near U.S. Highway 290. Police say they arrived on scene after receiving reports about a person being shot. When they arrived, officers found one victim with gunshot wounds. Officers provided life-saving measures until EMS could get there, when the victim was taken to a local hospital. However, he died at the hospital. He has been identified now as Shelby Cody. Police say Levante Harrison was the suspected shooter in this case. They say that there was no conversation or provocation before the shooting. They also say the victim was hit several times before Harrison re-entered his vehicle and left that scene. Police say they believe that no one else was targeted in this incident. Police arrested Harrison on an outstanding parole violation on Tuesday. He has since been charged with first-degree murder. You can find more information online at our website, KXAN.com.
First warning weather.
We want to take a live look now over downtown Austin from our Austonian camera. We've got so much variety today. We're seeing all angles of this camera. I love it.
We really are changing all the directions, but no matter where you look, it's beautiful out there, Tommy.
It's showing you the state bird, which is the crane. A lot of cranes on those high-rising
exactly.
buildings. I'm not the one who came up with that. I stole that joke, but it's pretty cool. All right, Granite Shoals right now. Here's our Whittlesey Landscape and Supplies camera. Look at the blue there. I mean, that is a tremendous view. Got some cars driving around. Winds are pretty much light and variable at this time. We'll see temperatures continue to warm up to the upper 70s by the afternoon hour. 71 right now in Austin. Winds out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Humidity continues to drop. The winds were originally out of the north earlier this morning, then they shifted to the east, and now they're shifting to the south and east. 10-mile-per-hour winds out in Mason, 7 miles per hour in Austin, Dripping Springs, and Marble Falls. Compared to where we were 24 hours ago, we're actually right on the money in Austin. A bit warmer out in San Saba today, Fredericksburg, Gillespie County, and Mason, Llano County, east of I-35. It's pretty much the same, low to mid-70s out and about at this hour. 75 in San Saba, 71 in Austin, 73 in Lockhart, up toward places like San Marcos here in the low 70s. Today, maybe getting 3, 4, 5 degrees warmer by the afternoon hours. We should be at 72, but even if it's 5 degrees warmer than average, we'll take that, right? Tonight, some 40s here and there and low 50s in the Austin area, 50 in Bastrop, 48 in Cameron and Rockdale. We'll stay in the low 50s out toward the hill country. Big picture, again, it's just quiet today and it'll be quiet tomorrow, but a different story comes Sunday. We're talking about the potential for a line of severe storms sometime Sunday into Monday. We'll go over the severity and details there. Your weekend forecast and a first freeze for many in Central Texas. It's that time of the year again. I'll show you the latest trends in the next few minutes.
Tommy, thank you. This year's first case of measles might be right here in Central Texas. Pflugerville ISD sent a letter to parents yesterday saying a doctor diagnosed a student at Windmere Elementary School with measles.
However, Austin Public Health says it cannot confirm any measles case in Travis County. We are reaching out to Williamson County public health leaders to see if they received a report. In its letter, the school district warned measles is a rare but highly contagious respiratory infection. Symptoms include a total body skin rash, as well as flu-like symptoms such as fever, cough, and a runny nose. Texas schools do require the measles vaccination, but parents can request an exemption for religious or medical reasons. The Austin Regional Clinic Associate Chief of Pediatrics says a vaccine makes all the difference for how parents should respond.
If your child was exposed and they are protected against their measles vaccine, then you really don't have much to worry about. You should follow the public health guidance, but you have less to worry about.
The district did tell us it will keep monitoring all of the student absences at this elementary school, but it does not anticipate any more cases.
Measles remains contagious in the air or on an infected surface for up to 2 hours. Doctors point out transmission happens from 4 days actually before a rash ever develops and even 4 days after that rash erupts. In more news, Austin Energy is turning to another source of clean energy, geothermal. The utility says its project will tap into heat stored deep underground to produce electricity near its biomass generating facility in the East Texas town of Nacogdoches. This would make room for more energy production and potentially lower people's monthly bills. It's all a part of Austin Energy's Resource Generation and Climate Protection Plan to 2035. There are some pitfalls, though, we have to note to this type of energy. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service says air and water pollution are two issues that are generally associated with geothermal energy. Austin Energy is expected to launch a pilot to test this new program and plans to have it up and running next year. Some depth for you. Earlier this year, a property on South Congress Avenue began using geothermal energy. Penn Field introduced its geothermal HVAC system in April. The Energy Department says geothermal heat pumps can reduce energy use and emissions by up to 72%.
President-elect Donald Trump is moving forward with his transition into the White House. Meanwhile, a prominent Texan who served in his first administration is now speaking publicly.
Rick Perry served as the U.S. Secretary of Energy from 2017 through 2019. Before that, he was the longest-serving governor in Texas history. We asked him what he thinks about the speed and qualifications of Trump's nominees and how he thinks the next Trump presidency will impact Texas.
Obviously, vetting these individuals properly, but don't let a bunch of politics get in the way here. Let's move with some haste. And the election was very telling in that Americans said, hey, here's who we want, and here's the team we want with him. Let's get to work.
Among the other Texans expected to be on Trump's short list, our state's agriculture commissioner, that's Sid Miller. He interviewed to lead the U.S. Department of Agriculture during Trump's first term and has remained a close ally. The president-elect still has several weeks before he's sworn into office.
And his transition team and their efforts are already taking over Capitol Hill. Washington correspondent Hannah Brandt explains how.
President-elect Trump is rolling out new nominations every day, and he's already leaning on Republican lawmakers to prepare to implement his agenda.
Nobody knew we were going to win it the way we wanted. That was a big one.
After winning control of the White House, the House, and the Senate, Republicans say they have a mandate to govern.
And now the real work begins, delivering on our agenda.
Republicans say the top priorities are cracking down on immigration and improving the economy with tax cuts and regulatory reforms.
We're going to turn our country around. We're going to make it so great, so strong, so powerful.
To help enact his agenda, the president-elect is announcing a flurry of picks for his administration. Among the most recent is his nomination of RFK Jr. for health secretary.
I guess if you like health and if you like people that live a long time, it's the most important position.
That choice is already getting pushback, especially from Democrats who say Kennedy's anti-vaccine views are dangerous.
The top health officer has to be grounded in science, so it's a troublesome nomination for me.
And that's not the only controversial choice for the new administration. Many lawmakers are also voicing concern about the nominations of former Congressman Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, Fox News host Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard for National Intelligence Director.
Are you serious? These are people that should never be in those jobs.
The nominees only need a majority of Senate votes to get confirmed, and starting in January, Republicans will have 53 Senate seats. In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
Hannah, thank you. After an election and another rate cut, Home mortgage rates remain high. Data released on Thursday shows the average 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is at 6.78%. That's down by just 1/100% from last month. While that's a big drop from 7.44 a year ago, it still remains above the 3.11% average from December 2021. Recent rate cuts by the Federal Reserve have helped bring down prices generally, with key inflation indicators showing rates near the central bank's target of 2%. For a look at home prices in Austin, you can visit our website at KXAN.com.
We are taking a live look out at our camera in Dripping Springs. Lots of people out on the roads, maybe hopefully getting their weekend plans started early, maybe headed out for lunch. If you are headed out the door, it's beautiful out there. Tommy House has been tracking these awesome temperatures that we're finally seeing even in the afternoons. We'll have more on that in your full forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. But first, we want to get to a new development in what some are calling the low-cost retail wars. Amazon is making a big move to take on startups that have upended online shopping. Christine Romans explains.
Some competition coming for Temu and Shein. The ultra cheap and trendy online retailers ship goods from China directly to U.S. customers.
The quality on this dress goes insane.
Young shoppers often taking to social media to showcase their hauls.
I am in love with this cardigan.
The site's soaring in popularity with a business model that bypasses import fees on purchases less than $800. Now Amazon entering the race to fill Americans' carts with the cheapest products possible, launching what it calls Amazon Haul, with items like an iPhone 16 case for $1.79, a nose trimmer for $2.19, and holiday table runners for $2.99. Courtney Reagan covers retail for CNBC.
What is this market for super cheap? Americans have just become more price sensitive than ever, but they also have the ability to almost buy from more places than they ever have before.
With low prices come longer delivery times. Instead of 1 to 2 days for your Amazon order, 1 to 2 weeks.
The consumer who's shopping for this stuff, quality is not top of mind. Yeah, they're inexpensively made, and they ultimately have to be okay with the fact that the quality may not hold up over time, as long as they're also okay with the impact, the environmental impact of tossing a good after so few uses.
Amazon says any product offered in its stores must comply with its labor, health, safety, and sustainability standards. The online giant adapting to the retail world it once revolutionized.
That was NBC's Christine Romans reporting. Okay, speaking of shopping, have you started your Christmas shopping yet?
Oh, I've already decorated. I shop for Christmas.
Wait.
They're wrapped under the tree.
We left way down the line there.
Oh my
They're wrapped under the tree?
I saw some 30s in the forecast and I went crazy the past few days.
I am shocked. That is amazing.
We went to Barnes & Noble and it was like, get a few books, wrap them up. If my family's watching, I didn't get you Barnes & Noble books.
Okay. Spoiler.
I did get the books.
Turn off the TV right now.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. It's gonna be great. How about y'all? I'm assuming until after Thanksgiving. That's how most people are.
That's what we usually do, is put it up at that point. And I've gotten a few gifts already that are kind of been trickling in for the last few months, so that's been nice.
You guys are ahead of me. I was watching that story and I went, ooh, I need to start thinking about that.
I've only seen one Netflix Christmas film so far.
More to come.
Is that good for you?
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
You know, it was one of those movies where you're like, it's so bad I can't stop watching it.
Oh yeah,
those before.
We gotta love those.
Yeah, those are the best. It's going to be a warm weekend, though. It's not going to be Christmas.
Not going to feel like Christmas.
Maybe the second half of the next week. Let's talk about your forecast right now. Here's Hi, Covington Cellars. Blue skies, not a single cloud on the horizon. Our temperatures are going to warm back up into the upper 70s today. And across the country, there is just nothing to talk about. We have a low pressure out toward the west, but that's not even that strong yet. That'll get going for us later on in the next 48 to 72 hours, and some showers across the eastern parts of the Carolinas. Today, our area, Austin, will be seeing temperatures climb back up into the upper 70s with sunny skies hanging around throughout the day today. Winds out of the east-southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. 77 for a high. Tonight back down to 53 with their winds turning calm, and then they'll stay out of the south again tomorrow, which means back up in the 80s east of I-35. 81 in Bastrop, 80 LaGrange, 81 Austin, 77 Georgetown, 77 for the Hill Country, Gillespie, and Llano County. Now, here's what I'm tracking. The big thing is severe weather sometime Sunday night into early Monday. Level 2 out of 5 by the Storm Prediction Center in this yellow contour here for most of Mason, parts of Llano, Gillespie County. And that threat goes down to level 1 out of 5 for portions of Travis County, Dripping Springs, Burnett, Lampasas, and east of Austin. We just have a risk for some general thunderstorms. Here's the big picture Sunday. Few showers coming out of the south. That's not the severe weather. You're going to see cloudy skies and a mix of some sunshine here and there with some drops of rain. But the big picture is overnight Sunday into Monday, what's going to happen is a front will swing by, strong front, and you'll notice that most of Texas will get this line of intense showers and thunderstorms. Put a picture of the wind gusts here. Very windy overnight into your Sunday. This is Sunday afternoon to the evening hours, and watch what happens. Gusting up to 40 miles per hour Sunday into Monday. You'll leave for work Monday morning and be careful for some heavy rain and some gusty winds out and about before that front moves on through. And it's all said and done, 1/4 of an inch to an inch, 1 to 2 inches here north of Austin toward Waco and Dallas, and less than 1/4 of an inch for portions of the San Antonio metro area down toward the valley. That's when our totals really drop. Behind the front, though, there's actually 2 fronts. We got the first one moving through sometime early Monday, and a second front that will most likely be dry Tuesday into Wednesday. Much colder air in place for that second front, and we're going to be talking about highs in just the mid-60s. Big picture again. Here's the second headline. The first headline was severe storms. The second headline is possible first freeze for portions of Llano, Mason, San Saba. I mean, 43 in Austin, but that's still much cooler than where we should be. And for those of you who love the cold weather like myself, that is a fantastic treat sometime next Wednesday and Thursday. Here's your first one weather 7-day forecast. Sunny skies today, some clouds tomorrow, maybe rain on Sunday, and then mostly sunny skies for the later half of next week.
The Mighty Texas Dog Walk is back, and this time organizers want you and your 4-legged companion to get comfortable. The nonprofit Service Dogs wants to break the record for world's largest pajama party with dogs. It started in 1999, and this event has already broken 12 world records. We talked to the organizers here on Midday earlier this week, and it was such a fun conversation to see not only are they doing fun things with these world records, but it's also all for a great cause benefiting Service Dogs, Inc. This walk starts tomorrow at 9 at Camp Maybury at the Parade Ground. That's on West 35th Street. We've got a link for how to sign up, along with that interview that we did with the organizers if you want to hear more from them. That's on KXAN.com. As he continues to nurse a broken leg, Detroit Lions defensive end, that's not who you're seeing here, I just want to point that out, Aiden Hutchinson, will not be able to play at Ford Field on Thanksgiving, and neither will this pardoned turkey, who has been named after him. On Thursday, Michigan Governor pardoned Aiden Cluckinson.
Oh my goodness.
There you go. The lone turkey brought to the state capitol to learn his fate. Aiden Cluckinson will be spared and will not end up as Thanksgiving dinner. Instead, he will get to go to the Saginaw Children's Zoo to live out the remainder of his life.
Hopefully a good life awaits him. According to the governor's office there in Michigan, the name was selected from more than 4,000 names. Last year, the governor pardoned Dolly Parton, who was selected from thousands of entries as well in the statewide contest. And in 2022, the governor pardoned Mitch E. Gander. So Michigander, Mitch E. Gander.
Oh, look at little Aiden there. Little Aiden Cluckinson.
So it always is a strange tradition that happens a lot. The federal government does it. Michigan apparently does it. So why?
Yeah.
Why? That's what I want to know. I also want to say one of my friends who lives up near Dallas, her name is Daniela. Hi, Daniela. She texted me earlier and she was saying, stop judging Tommy for decorating for the holidays so early because
you got some
she
support.
is putting up her tree tonight. So, you know, maybe I'm missing out on something.
The festive bunch of us are getting ready, of course.
Solidarity.
I know. I have the sweaters out and everything. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great next few weeks of cooler weather. So let's talk about your 7-day forecast real quickly. 2 days of warmth, and then, wow, that is going to be nice. The beanie's going to be on Wednesday and Thursday. Overnight lows, 43 out the door near Thursday, and maybe some severe weather Sunday into Monday. Most likely just some gusty winds for the hill country. We'll keep an eye on that, though. Our chief meteorologist, Nick Bannon, will have updates later on this evening and tonight.
Thanks so much.
There
we go. We love it.
Very nice to see some of those rain chances increasing. I know you all will be looking at specifically in the hours and days ahead.
It is so dry. We're in that extreme drought, which is level 3 out of 4. So every single drop counts. We've been in an extreme drought for the entirety of the month. So, you know, we get 1/4 of an inch, that's something. If we get an inch, that's perfect.
We will keep our fingers crossed for sure that we will have that much needed rain too. Thank you, Tommy and Avery, and thank you all as well for watching here at KXAN News at noon. We'll see you back here in about 30 minutes with another update. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend. Take care.